Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Train Simulator Classic, aka Railworks. Today we're going to be taking a look at machine rails, Great Northern 480s, the Mastodons. This is one of their last sets to have come with the South American model, which we have parked over here on the side. But these are pretty sleek locomotives. They're designed by Brooks Locomotive Works. The mid 1890s for the Great Northern, and the EFCB bought one, I believe. I don't believe they bought any more. I believe they only got hold of one, which is represented here. The Great Northern, though, they got hold of a fairly large number of them, and they saw pretty decent success. Unfortunately, I didn't see any that survived today. I don't believe any of these made it into preservation, but this is one of a fairly unique design overall. One of the notable features that might stand out a little bit is the Belpaire firebox, which in and of itself is a bit of an odd thing in the United States outside of the Northeast with the Pennsylvania Railroad and such. It's kind of an odder design feature for a railroad like the Great Northern. It's a little further out west and up north. But the other oddball thing, as probably is painfully obvious, the 480 wheel arrangement. It is in essence a stretched consolidation to 80. Your pilot, kind of explain, your pilot wheels are what help a locomotive guide through curves and such. So a four-wheel pilot truck is going to give this locomotive a fairly nice running capabilities along most of the Great Northern's trackage. It'll let it track a lot better through curves and maintain speed around those curves. It's not going to wobble around whenever it hits them and such. So, but that is in essence what the R is, a stretched out 280. But the 480 is an odd design in general. It's not one that was too terribly popular in the United States, although there is one of the 480 wheel arrangements that is a fairly popular and well-known locomotive on the Strasburg Railroad, Norfolk and Western number 475. It is a 480 that has been in active heritage operations now for quite some time, but I believe it's the one and only 480 in the United States that is in operation, one of the very few that remain. It is a very obscure wheel arrangement, so it's kind of cool to see it for Train Simulator. It's kind of neat to have gotten an oddball like this, but yeah, unfortunately I don't know very much about the South American model. I do have it placed down because it does have a fair number of differences over the Great Northern model. I do not have all the Great Northern models placed down. As far as the pack goes, you will get a fairly large number of Great Northern locomotives. These are not dynamically numbered, so each number will have some differences in the paint scheme. So like right now I have my personal favorite with 126. It's got the white wall drivers and such. Some of the other numbers won't have these white walls. Some of the other numbers won't have these silver drive rods and such. But the basic locomotive will remain the same throughout for all the Great Northern locomotives, as opposed to the South American one over here, the EFCB. This locomotive does have a fair number of changes, so I do have it placed down here. And overall, I just really like the color scheme on it. It's a really, really neat looking color. But yeah, if you have, say, G-Trax's GN Cascadian route, this is a really, really nice add-on to have for it. It gives you an awesome steam locomotive to go on that route. Mariah's Pass, maybe? There's a couple other Great Northern routes. They're not Great Northern specific. They're modernized, but I forget to. I fail to remember which routes they are. But there are a fair number of routes that this locomotive will fit in fairly decently well. Now, as I said earlier, this design did come out in the late 1890s or the mid 1890s. So it's not a powerhouse, not like your big 484s and whatnot that we have in game. This is a relatively small locomotive, so you're not going to be pulling a mile-long train up and down and through the mountains. It's also not a high-speed locomotive. These are obviously these don't have very large drivers. These are not going to be flying down the tracks at 75, 80 mile an hour like those big Northerns that we've got. But I like it. Gives us a little bit more of a smaller general purpose locomotive. So these are coal burners, and they do have machine rails, pretty typical level of quality going on here. Just overall a really good looking locomotive. So we've got, our nice 3D rivets. You guys know how I love my 3D rivets. I hate 2D textures. Our trucks are really nicely modeled. Our coupler, I don't know what's going on here. That's a little wonky. I guess I can't compare the South American Scott Lincoln pin couplers, but yeah, there's something wonky going on with the coupler here. It looks normal up here on the front, but oh well. Old burning headlamp or tail light, nicely modeled, just really nicely modeled. And overall, the texturing looks really nice. I think my personal complaint with this one, I don't like the texturing on the drive rods. This right here looks very much like a stretched out picture. I get they're supposed to look weathered, but in my opinion, the weathering on the drive rods does not match the rest of the locomotive. I mean, look at how clean these drivers are compared to the drive rods. I don't know. I don't think it played out as well. And then, of course, the striping going on all along the top. It didn't do it for me. But other than that, the texturing all along this locomotive looks really, really nice. As is typical of machine rail, a lot of properly 3D modeled parts. All too often, stuff like this, stuff like the Brooks lettering here on our cylinders would be 2D textures, or machine rail's plaque right here would be a 2D texture. These are notorious for being 2D textures. So it's nice that machine rail takes the time to actually model these plates. It's one of those small details that I really appreciate. I mean, like here, you can clearly see Brooks Locomotive Works, Dunkirk, New York. That's an actual model. It's not just a 2D texture. You can see it. It pops out. Now, the number on the number plate does not. The number plate, the actual number is a 2D texture, but it's not too terribly noticeable. Another oil headlamp. So these are oil burners. They don't, there's no steam generator. So I'm pulling these newer coaches are a little bit out of place, but in today's age, one would probably stick a generator or two up under these cars to run the electricity if the locomotive didn't come with a generator up on top. But yeah, really nicely modeled. I mean, look at this. You know how rare it is that we can actually get up close to these plaques and be able to read them? And models even produced today. Some of the stuff pushed out today, official DTG content, you can't read any of this. This will be all blurred out. All these lines will be blurry or blocky. Now the lettering on the cab here does kind of blur out if you get up close. I mean, realistically, yeah, you won't be this close to it, but it definitely blurs out a little bit if you get up close. The number on the tender looks phenomenal. Absolutely awesome. And it even goes over the rivets. And it goes over the rivets nicely, which is another rarity. So the numbering looks really nice. Really and truly, that's the only odd spot out. I mean, the numbering even looks really nice up here on the, up on this, is this a sand dome? Yeah, it's a sand dome. But numbering looks nice up here, here. It's just the lettering. The lettering definitely is a little blurry up close, but look at this. Nuts, bolts, rivets, all 3D. No 2D. None of that mess. Now our piping's a little bit odd too. So on the tender, it's very clearly a very different brass texture. I mean, I'm guessing that's what they were shooting for here. This is, I imagine, supposed to be brass the whole way through, but this is very yellow. This is very not yellow. I mean, this is, well, we got 3 different colors going on here. So that's a little bit odd. Not painfully noticeable, but definitely there. If you get up close, we have a black hole here where our safety valves are. Not, again, terribly noticeable, but definitely there. Definitely noticeable if you're looking for it. Just really, really nice. Really, really nice. Got all of our various exhaust steam coming out in different spots. It actually looks pretty decent. It doesn't just bunch up and stay in a white cotton ball. So it looks fairly natural. The exhaust smoke, on the other hand, kind of does bunch up, turn into a big cotton ball right over the smokestack here. So, and not fond of that, but another one of those kind of oddly noticeable details is your brake hoses here that definitely clips through the cow catcher here, the plow. Does it do it back here? Does it do anything wonky? Oh, where is it? There it be. Weird. Huh. This stretches way out. But, oh well. And of course we've got our South American model over here. Now like I said, this one has some detail changes. So one of your most noticeable is going to be our dome layout is different. So over here our domes are close together and our bell is up closer to the smokestack. Here our bell is back on top of the firebox, while our sand dome is mushed forward closer to the smokestack. It looks like our steam dome stays at the same place. and our whistle moves. So on the GN models, the whistle is here where our safety valves are. For the South American model, the whistle moves up to the steam dome along with our safety valves. They end up over here on the steam dome as well. We get a crown smokestack, whereas GNs have a straight shotgun style. Yeah. Her water pumps are different. Our water pumps are different. I believe... no, our air pumps are in the same place. But our water pumps are very much different. As you can see, this right here, this is your water pump. So you would be unable to fill this locomotive if it wasn't moving. An example would be like the smoke boxes, 1800s stuff. I kind of showed those. If you're not physically moving, you're unable to put water in the boiler, because this right here is your pump, and it's operated by the motion of your drive rod moving back and forth here. It's connected right here, and this is your pump creating that pressure needed to draw water into the boiler. These have a different style of water pump. So that changes. Of course, the obvious roof over the tender here, the GN doesn't have. Hop over here. Our headlights change. The tender light's the same, but the headlights just change. So we've got a headlight, a big old box style up here on the front, and then two smaller, almost like ditch lights down here. And then, of course, the buffer plates. These have buffer plates. And link and pin couplers. More akin to European style stuff. Oh, what else do we got? What else do we have? Of course, our number plates are different. Our whole numbering and lettering's different. As you can see, we've got a nicely modeled number 230 plate right here. Brooks Locomotive Works. I don't speak that language, and I'm not going to try. Oh, a really nice 3D printed door plate right here. And I believe the sounds are identical across all of these locomotives. That is why I don't have this one drivable. We're only going to go over the one, because I see no reason in clicking through all of them to show all the sounds when they're all the same. So if you've heard one, you've heard them all. I love this. I love this color scheme. I love this color scheme. It's such a unique and different idea compared to just black. It's just really, really neat. I believe the what is it? The South American 210-0 and the 440 packs come with rolling stock that have link and pin couplers to go with this locomotive. So if you're looking for rolling stock to match this, you will have to get a different pack, but yeah, I recommend checking them out. So yeah, that's about it. Let's dive into it. Be sure our tracks are set so we don't run into anything. Boogity boogity boo. Cool beans. I believe inside the cab it really stays the same across all of them too. So the cab is fairly nice. I don't... Yeah, opening the firebox door doesn't do. So this is another one of those models where you will probably want to do this for your firebox if you want to run it without the F4 HUD. And then whenever you close the firebox, it'll stop shoveling coal. When you open it again, it'll start putting it back in. So just bear that in mind if you're trying to run this locomotive without the F4 HUD. It is interesting in that it's got a rotary crank, and it's also got a bar. You cannot click on the crank handle, but you can click on the bar. Of course, our brake stand here. We got cylinder cocks. Smoke box door, which can be open. I don't know. No. I don't get to do it from inside the cab, so that's a shame. Windows and doors open. You cannot control them individually. It's either they're all open or they're not. Cab roof is always open. Back window, we don't get that one. Our whistle. Sanders. Our lubricator system we've seen, unfortunately, is just not model. It's not functional on this model, but it is modeled, so it's modeled nicely. All our gauges look really, really nice. Our injectors, we don't get those. Injector, blower, injectors should be fireman injectors. Of course, our firebox. Open. There it goes. Open. This is our bell cord. You can't touch the bell cord anywhere. So. I don't see any dampers anywhere either. It's kind of odd. But, oh well. There's a little bit of a noticeable gap right here. Let's see, is it on the other side too? Probably. Yep, right there. There goes our safeties. It is interesting that the safety valve goes off. Oh, hey, our smoke box door opened. This well, kind of modeled. Smoke box door opens, and you can kind of see the piping in there, which doesn't look half bad. Let's see if that closes it. Yeah, I just click on it. Okay. Doesn't physically move, it just clicks on it and goes. So let's kill our brakes. We do have our valve gear modeled inside, which is pretty neat. It is Stevenson valve gear. Let's see. Yeah, I don't think our reverser is modeled on the outside. Let's see. It's full reverse. Yeah, it's not modeled. This has one of the prettiest whistles in the game, without a doubt. It does play that little tune if you hold the space bar down. It plays that little tune there at that little spot. But if you do try to do a short blast, it does kind of cut off which is a little but it's not bad. This is one of their kind of now older models, so it doesn't quite have all the fun functions that stuff like their H9 consolidations do. So a lot of the features aren't there, like the whistle being physically operated, or obviously the reverser being functional. But I don't think a lot of this is functional. See what happens if we pop our brakes. This is pretty cool too. We got the lettering on the drive wheels here. Bell sounds pretty good. And it's in sync. It looks pretty good. Our headlight looks awesome. I love the orange glow. It ain't too bright. Ain't got no flares. That looks really good. You get up on close to it and you can kind of see the star going on, but otherwise, I love the headlight. Our safeties go off, but there's no steam physically from the safeties, which is a little bit but it is what it is. These do kind of have that special steam physics where it does build up pressure. Now, this is one of those models where you kind of got to play with the reverser and the throttle. It isn't quite one like some of the other more advanced locomotives where you pull your reverser back to like 25-30%, and then you run off with, you open your throttle wide and leave it open. But sounds really good. I like the chuff sounds. This is a little bit of a noticeable loop right there, but it's not vastly noticeable. It's not horrible. Now the sounds do fade away a little bit quick. So right here I should be able to hear it fairly well. And then they're gone. Before the last car, before the first car is completely left, the sounds are already faded away. So they do fade away a little bit quick. I don't believe these have a speedometer in them, so you do kind of gotta play it by ear. I love the idle sounds. Those are really nice. That's just our generic rolling, not under power sound. Those are nice. Our exhaust looks pretty good. I like the steam effects. They don't look that bad. They are swept back a little bit, so it ends up making the lower portion clip through everything. Like our dome car here, you can very clearly see the bottom half clipping through. And then when you open the throttle up, it's still there, plus a whole column of smoke coming out. So I'm not fond of that. I don't like that all that much. I do kind of wish that this kind of this idle smoke here went away when you open the throttle, but eh. Wonder if this will echo in the tunnel. Nope. It don't. Sad days. But it does when you're in the cab. That's interesting. It can absolutely get hard to see in the cab because there's no cab lights. This is your cab light. The firebox is your cab light. Yeah, I don't like that sound fade. It fades away way too quick and way too noticeably. Right there. It's very, very noticeable. So 100% throttle, 30% reverser. It gets to 20 mile an hour and it stays there until the boiler pressure starts to spill away, and then it loses. I mean, here we sit at 18 mile an hour. So it shouldn't do that. We cut our reverser back to about 25, 26. It hits 20 and it stays at 20. I'm not terribly fond of that. It's not proper, I guess, but again, it's a simple enough locomotive to learn how to operate because of that. You know, it's not pro line or highly advanced like some of the other stuff. Let's start grab and hold of some brakes. I love those starting sounds. The starting sounds are awesome. But yeah, there it is. Machine Rails 480 Mastodon from Brooks Locomotive Works. I highly recommend going and checking it out. As usual, I put the link in the description. These are not quite up to snuff with a lot of the stuff that they have put out in the last year or so, like the BNO 040s, the H9s, the consolidations. They're not quite up to snuff with like stuff like that, but they're certainly really, really nice. Certainly not a bad model to have. So I do think they're well worth going and checking out. The South American model you may or may not get much use out of. I like the overall scheme, but the buffer plates and the link and pin couplers kind of do limit what you can do with it if you don't have any of their other South American content, because you do have to own those other ones to have the rolling stock that goes with that set. So, you know, it's a model that you may or may not get much use out of, but that's not to say that it's not really neat that you do get it. It is a very niche that is very often glanced over, but if you're looking at it just for the GN side, it's still well worth picking up, I think. Like, I get a ton of use out of this model still while playing, like the Cascadian route. It is an absolute must-have for that route. It goes very nicely with the rest of the GN stock. So do go check it out. Link in the description. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys next time.